Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to look at how to master the CELPIP listening activity. So we're looking mostly at the format and some tips. As you know, CELPIP is an online test that we are going to take for a lot of different purposes, but most of you are looking at Canadian immigration. It's similar in some ways to the IELTS test, but we'll look at some differences. Mainly, the CELPIP is online. So, whereas for IELTS, you'll go into person at a language center, CELPIP, you're doing this 100% online. Now, some people might find this more difficult because you are not speaking to a human. Others might feel relaxed by it. So, it's up to you. It is a 3-hour test in total, so get ready, be comfortable for that. All right, let's look at today's format. We're starting with part 1 through 6. With the CELPIP test, there are 4 parts: listening, reading, writing, and speaking, in that order. The first one is listening. So we're going to have parts 1 through 6. Now, part 4, 5, and 6 will be much harder. You're looking at high level conversations, or monologues, I should say. So we have everything from problem solving, daily life conversations, information, news, discussion, and viewpoints. Each section has several questions and only 1 minute per question, or approximately 1 minute per question. That includes the listening activity. So we have 8 questions, 8 minutes. Now, big thing to note, there are 6 parts, but there is a 7th part for everyone. So don't be surprised when you actually get a 7th listening part. Why? What is this? The 7th part is actually a survey purpose. So when they create the CELPIP test, they need to have resource and information on how to improve the test, and they are going to use you to help them improve. So don't be alarmed. You'll see that. What this looks like. You might do part 1 and 2, and you finish part 2, and you see again part 2. Don't be surprised. You're doing this a second time. The second time you do any of the parts, it is unscored. So that extra additional one is unscored. Just keep that in mind. In total, including the 7th part, you are going to have about 55 minutes to complete everything. So work diligently. Now, I want you to focus on port 4, 5, and 6, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Let's look at the CELPIP scoring. Okay, the maximum you can get is a 12, and that would give you 38 points. 38 points is 1 point per mark. You'll notice that some carry over into 2 different levels. We have 35 that goes into level 10 and 35 that goes into level 9. Why is that? Well, if most of your scores come from part 4, 5, and 6, they will give you the 10 if you have 35 scores. If most of your marks come from 1, 2, and 3, they will give you the 9. So that's why you should be careful. If you are getting the most amount of scores, try to aim for 4, 5, and 6, although it is difficult. Some things to note, and we'll talk about this more later. With listening, you only get to listen 1 time. So do not think that you can go back and listen again. This will cause some difficulties. You're going to want to take notes. We'll talk more about this later. I'll give you some strategies on note taking, but don't bombard yourself with notes. That means don't overwhelm yourself with taking notes. So you are writing short, brief information like keywords. There will be 3 different types of questions. One of them is inferring. So with inferring, you have to gain the information from what you can listen to, but the answer isn't given. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Let's move on to each part individually. Okay, parts 1 through 3 are quite the same, so I grouped them together. 4, 5, and 6 are all a little bit different. 1 through 3, we're working with multiple choice questions. Focus on the process of elimination. If you don't know the answer, cross out the ones that couldn't be the answer and work your way until the best option. Maybe it's option A or B. You'll have 30 seconds to answer each question. The audios from part 1 to 3 will vary between a minute and 2 minutes. So I think it's 1 minute, 1.5, 2 minutes, something like that. But you still have 30 seconds to listen and answer. So in part 1 and 3, you are listening to the speaker talk, and then you will answer the question. These are all dialogues. So it's a dialogue, die meaning two, log meaning speaking. So it's two people speaking, usually a man and a woman. They're more conversational. If you remember, part 1 through 3 is about problem solving. So they might ask you, what do you want to have for dinner? So it's a conversation between two people choosing a restaurant. Things about the daily life. So it's a soccer team planning their vacation. Or you're listening for information. Someone is asking directions on how to get there. So this is a dialogue between two people. Parts 1 and 3 start very conversational and they work themselves into semi formal. It's mostly informal information. Okay, let's go to part 4. The format is different. We're looking at sentence completion. So you'll have a drop down and you'll have to choose the word. So it's finishing the sentence. Again, you don't get to listen twice. So be careful to listen one time, choose your answer. You have 5 minutes in total to answer all of the questions. So you're actually going to read the questions this time and then answer it. So you'll read the question, answer them by yourself. This one is a monologue. Mono meaning one, log again meaning speaking. So we have one speaker. Could be man or woman, we don't know. We're getting into more formal information. The best way to practice for part 4 is listening to the news. Part 4 is about the news. It can be difficult for some because in news channels, they speak a lot faster and they are very direct and very descriptive. Part 5 is the most unique. Part 5 is a video, and you're still going to do sentence completion. You have 9 minutes in total to watch the video and answer the questions. What I want you to remember for part 5 is pay attention to their appearance. They will refer to each individual as the man in the blue sweater, the woman with glasses, the bald man. So you need to pay attention with your eyes open to the video. A lot of people like to listen with their eyes closed and they're just listening to the video and then they miss the crucial information. Who is the man in the blue sweater? Or what did he say? We're getting into formal information, including details. Part 5 is about a discussion. So they'll ask you different questions about what was the man's opinion, or what did the woman with the glasses say? How did she feel about that? Part 6, we're back to audio clips and sentence completion. 9 minutes to answer everything. Again, it's a monologue. Part 6 is the most difficult. We're talking about viewpoints, people's opinions. You are going to have a lot of inferring questions here, and they will be challenging. With part 6, still listen to the details, but as you are listening to part 6, think about what does all of this mean? What is the audio about? Are they talking about climate change? Are they talking about a new bridge that is being installed in the city? What are their opinions? Does the speaker agree with this? Does he or she disagree with this? This is what you're looking for because it's high level. Okay, let's finally get into our tips. This is what you're most likely wanting to know. With each of the parts 1 through 6, you will have 3 different types of questions. General meaning questions, specific information, inference. General meaning questions are the most basic ones. We're putting together information from different sources. So in the audio, they said something about maybe 2 speakers are talking about this, or the new construction sign will be put on this road. So you're looking for the big picture, and they'll be talking about anything in the audio. Specific information, we're looking for dates, names, addresses, things that you can record down. So you probably will take notes on these, like the date of his birthday or the name of her grandma. So you'll be talking directly about the information. For an example, the man's job is direct information. Next one is inference. Inference is where you infer the information from what you heard. The information will not be stated directly, so you have to listen and understand to what they are talking about. They might talk about feelings or what will happen next. For example, the doctor will likely agree that. Okay, so now you have to think, what would the doctor agree? He didn't state it directly, but it will be there. For note taking, I want you to be cautious on how many notes that you take. If you are bombarding yourself, or that means overwhelm, if you are overwhelming yourself with notes and you're trying to write down full sentences, you won't listen attentively. Be an active listener, not a passive listener. For all of them except for part 5, which is the video, you can close your eyes and listen to the audio. Picture what might happen. Think about it logically. So you're listening actively. Keep a brief shorthand note. So you can use symbols for yourself or pictures if you can quickly draw a little picture. But above all, focus on your memory. This will help you. We are not designed to multitask. So focus on listening and memorizing. Before you get into the test, you're going to want to prepare for many weeks before. I want you to focus on listening and engaging with people. Podcast, listen to podcasts. There's so many out there. Again, close your eyes, listen to the podcast, and ask yourself the questions after. What was this podcast about? What was their main objective? Did the man agree with the woman? So you're starting to develop your own questions. And you can use the topics from part 1 through 6. So topics about daily life, news topics, viewpoint topics. Listen without the transcript. So don't bother reading while you're listening because that's not an option during the test. And finally, immerse yourself in an English setting. Put yourself near English people so that you can listen to them. Go to a coffee shop if you can and just hang out, try to eavesdrop. It's super fun, maybe a little bit weird, but it's good for preparing. Watch a lot of TV, watch news, and try to just listen attentively as much as possible. So this is our main information for the CELPIP test. I know you'll do very well in the listening section. We're going to cover a lot more about the reading, writing, and speaking in coming days. So thank you so much for paying attention. See you.